Good morning. This is Miss Carter, and I am reaching out to you guys via Zoom and recording myself because I wanted to have a different way to kind of express some of the things that we're doing here in class. I am your child's EIP reading teacher, as well as an opportunity to kind of show you or give you some suggestions on how you can support your scholar at home, especially since this week I started sending home the nightly homework practice, which for your scholar is going to be fluency. So, as I mentioned, I also attached to that remind post the strategy that we were working on this week, which is the swooping or the sentence scooping method. And that's to help your scholar connect words and get away from doing that one word reading at a time, which is when they're in first grade, they're coming from the beginning stages of word reading to actually reading phrases and then building to sentences, and now they're reading passages. So the sentence swooping method is showing them how to connect those words so that in the end, when they're reading, they sound very similar to the way they sound when they're speaking. So I'm going to switch my camera to show you guys this. Okay. So this passage is what your scholar was reading last week with a partner, in addition to this week, after we introduced the sentence swooping method. So last week we were doing choral reading, which is just reading at one time. So listening to each other. My suggestion or what my expectation was that our goal was to sound like one voice reading this passage. So they were doing this with a partner for a while, and then when time was up, we read it all together as a class. So with this specific phrase, you see these lines. We were working on phrase reading. So these lines, these slash marks, were the goal for your scholar to read up until that point. So we really emphasize that. So instead of reading at like, it is time for school, which is that one word reading that I spoke to earlier, we wanted them to read, it is time for school. Tim puts on his shoes. So notice how I'm stopping at those slash marks. So this week, what we were doing, that sentence scooping or sentence swooping method, currently for most of them, it's difficult for them to read without stopping. It was difficult for them to read this whole sentence without stopping. So introducing that sentence scooping method, it was the video that I showed, modeled, the teacher modeled, and then had a child reading after her. And I highlighted the fact that the student was not reading exactly the same way as the teacher was. She had to stop a little bit more because she was not able to read as many words in that one breath yet. So I emphasized that. And then I modeled for them with this same passage, doing the sentence scooping. So what I told them, like, okay, guys, you want to try to read at least 3 words before you take that breath. And for some of them, even the 3 words was kind of hard. So I said, if you have to, then you can go to 2. So it would sound something like this if they were doing 2 words. It is time for school. And what we were using in class, I gave them all a pencil and they were using their eraser. So they're not ready to use their finger yet to get that concept down. They were using their eraser. So it is time for school. So what you see me doing is literally scooping up the words that I'm reading in that one breath and saying them. So the goal is to scoop the words that you're saying at one time. If you are doing this with your scholar with their homework, as it was suggested, whenever you see them, it is time. You have to stop them and tell them, okay, you're still doing the one word at a time. I need you to read these 2 words in that one, and you might have to model for them. And it's even okay if they echo read with you. So that means they just copy after you do. So it is, and then have them do it. It is time for, and they would say, time for school. Then it's always nice to see if they can go back to the beginning and do it on their own. It is time for school. It's really just building that confidence and learning how to get away from the one word reading at a time. So, again, that practice is really important because if they continue to practice where they're doing the one word at a time, when it's time for them to do their progress monitoring, where they are doing fluency, they do have passage reading that they do, and they are timed. Because the idea behind fluency with anything, whether it's nonsense words or passage reading, is 1 minute. Additionally, with those sight words that I do believe first grade has started sending out with their scholars, if I'm not mistaken, maybe at the very end of last semester. So we did that. And then what I wanted to do, speaking of sight words, was to show them. I had the conversation with them that guys, 80% of the words that you read in passages are sight words. So the better you are with your sight word knowledge, the easier it will be for you to read these passages. So I went through and I highlighted all the words in the passage that were sight words. You'll notice for some of them, like for example, puts, I only highlighted put because the sight words are not going to be in tense form. So of course, puts is a present tense form. But we talked about how put and you add an S. When you add an S or an ES, it could show plural or it could change the tense of the word when the action is happening. So if you put and at the end of it, what's that word? And you're like puts. So I just wanted to show them. And then I say, guys, even some of the words that we have that are not highlighted, they are decodable, meaning you can use your phonics skills to determine like how to read them. So here, this would be the silent E rule. I always tell them that when the word ends in an E, that's usually a clue that silent E rule for them, which I've sat in a first grade class and I've heard one of their UFY lessons was over that rule in particular. So if I know the silent E rule, the E at the end makes the other vowel say its name, I'm going to say time. Here, this is just a basic CVC word. So Tim. This one is a little bit more advanced phonics skills. So we talked about that too. I said this one is a specific rule you would need to learn. Floor, this is another one where it's a specific rule that you would need to learn about OO. Or OOR actually. This is an or verb. Skill. So we went through that and I showed them. So again, I just reiterated why it's so important and why it's so helpful for them to know the sight words that they're expected to know up to this point in first grade. And that's another reason why I provided some of those sight words on the back of their fluency homework this week. I think I'm going to do that every week. Is also, send home a sheet of sight words that they're practicing nightly. And then my suggestion for the sight words is if you are spotting words that they're consistently missing, write those on a note card or flashcard, and then just drill those with them. And then you slowly work in more sight words, and still review the other ones. Don't let those fall by the wayside. Still consistently bring in some of the old ones as you introduce new ones, because it's just really going to help their reading out a lot. If you have any questions for me, I'm hoping that you guys received the remind form that I sent home earlier this week. So that's my main way of communication, and it's my most effective and it's my fastest way of communication with you guys. So if your scholar did not bring or give you their remind paper, please let me know. Reach out through email, and I will send another copy home. I'm really good about communicating with you guys about what we're doing this week, what our focus is, and letting you know when I do send like fluency practice and fluency homework home with your scholars so that they are able to practice the skills that they need, or the skills that they're going to be progress monitored over and things like that. So again, thank you those that have already joined the Remind. Those of you that may be hearing this and have not joined the Remind, please let me know if you need another copy of it. And I look forward to working with your scholar and hearing back from you guys. Have a good day.